The Mona Lisa is a half-length portrait of a woman by the Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci, which has been acclaimed as the best known, the most visited, the most written about, the most sung about, the most parodied work of art in the world. The painting, thought to be a portrait of Lisa Gherardini, the wife of Francesco del Giocondo, is in oil on a white Lombardy poplar panel, and is believed to have been painted between 1503 and 1506. Leonardo may have continued working on it as late as 1517. It was acquired by King Francis I of France and is now the property of the French Republic, on permanent display at the Louvre Museum in Paris since 1797. The subject's expression, which is frequently described as enigmatic, the monumentality of the composition, the subtle modeling of forms, and the atmospheric illusionism were novel qualities that have contributed to the continuing fascination and study of the work. Title and subject. The title of the painting, which is known in English as Mona Lisa, comes from a description by Renaissance art historian Giorgio Vasari, who wrote, Leonardo undertook to paint, for Francesco del Giocondo, the portrait of Mona Lisa. His wife, Monna in Italian, is a polite form of address originating as Madonna, similar to Ma'am, Madam, or My Lady in English. This became Madonna, and its contraction Mona. The title of the painting, though traditionally spelled Mona, is also commonly spelled in modern Italian as Monna Lisa, but this is rare in English. Vasari's account of the Mona Lisa comes from his biography of Leonardo published in 1550, 31 years after the artist's death. It has long been the best-known source of information on the provenance of the work and identity of the sitter. Leonardo's assistant Salai, at his death in 1525, owned a portrait which in his personal papers was named La Gioconda, a painting bequeathed to him by Leonardo. That Leonardo painted such a work, and its date, were confirmed in 2005 when a scholar at Heidelberg University discovered a marginal note in a 1477 printing of a volume written by the ancient Roman philosopher Cicero. Dated October 1503, the note was written by Leonardo's contemporary Agostino Vespucci. This note likens Leonardo to renowned Greek painter Apelles, who is mentioned in the text, and states that Leonardo was at that time working on a painting of Lisa del Giocondo. The model, Lisa del Giocondo, was a member of the Gherardini family of Florence and Tuscany, and the wife of wealthy Florentine silk merchant Francesco del Giocondo. The painting is thought to have been commissioned for their new home, and to celebrate the birth of their second son, Andrea. The Italian name for the painting, La Gioconda, means jocund, or, literally, the jocund one, a pun on the feminine form of Lisa's married name, Giocondo. In French, the title La Gioconda has the same meaning. Before that discovery, scholars had developed several alternative views as to the subject of the painting. Some argued that Lisa del Giocondo was the subject of a different portrait, identifying at least 4 other paintings as the Mona Lisa referred to by Vasari. Several other women have been proposed as the subject of the painting: Isabella of Aragon, Cecilia Gallerani, Costanza d'Avalos, Duchess of Francavilla, Isabella d'Este, Pacifica Brandano or Brandino, Isabella Gualonda, Caterina Sforza, even Salai and Leonardo himself, are all among the list of posited models portrayed in the painting. The consensus of art historians in the 21st century maintains the long-held traditional opinion that the painting depicts Lisa del Giocondo. History. Leonardo da Vinci began painting the Mona Lisa in 1503 or 1504 in Florence, Italy, although the Louvre states that it was doubtless painted between 1503 and 1506. The art historian Martin Kemp says there is some difficulty in confirming the actual dates with certainty. According to Leonardo's contemporary, Giorgio Vasari, after he had lingered over it 4 years, he left it unfinished. Leonardo, later in his life, is said to have regretted never having completed a single work. In 1516, Leonardo was invited by King François I to work at the Clos Lucé near the king's castle in Amboise. It is believed that he took the Monna Lisa with him and continued to work after he moved to France. Art historian Carmen C. Bambach has concluded that Da Vinci probably continued refining the work until 1516 or 1517. Upon his death, the painting was inherited with other works by his pupil and assistant Sully. Francis I bought the painting for 4,000 écus and kept it at Palace of Fontainebleau, where it remained until Louis XIV moved the painting to the Palace of Versailles. After the French Revolution, it was moved to the Louvre, but spent a brief period in the bedroom of Napoleon in the Tuileries Palace. During the Franco-Prussian War it was moved from the Louvre to the Brest Arsenal. During World War II, the painting was again removed from the Louvre and taken safely, first to Château d'Amboise, then to the Loc-Dieu Abbey and Château de Chambord, then finally to the Ingres Museum in Montauban. In December 2015, it was reported that French scientist Pascal Cotte had found a hidden portrait underneath the surface of the painting using reflective light technology. The portrait is an underlying image of a model looking off to the side. Having been given access to the painting by Louvre in 2004, Cotte spent 10 years using layer amplification methods to study the painting. According to Cotte, the underlying image is Leonardo's original Monna Lisa. Theft and vandalism. On the 21st of August 1911, the painting was stolen from the Louvre. The next day, painter Louis Béraud walked into the museum and went to the Salon Carré where the Monna Lisa had been on display for 5 years, only to find 4 iron pegs on the wall. Béraud contacted the head of the guards, who thought the painting was being photographed for promotional purposes. A few hours later, Béraud checked back with the section chief of the Louvre, who confirmed that the Monna Lisa was not with the photographers. The Louvre was closed for an entire week during the investigation. French poet Guillaume Apollinaire, who had once called for the Louvre to be burnt down, came under suspicion and was arrested and imprisoned. Apollinaire implicated his friend Pablo Picasso, who was brought in for questioning. Both were later exonerated. 2 years later, the thief was found. Louvre employee Vincenzo Perugia had stolen the Monna Lisa by entering the building during regular hours, hiding in a broom closet, and walking out with it hidden under his coat after the museum had closed. Perugia was an Italian patriot who believed Da Vinci's painting should have been returned for display in an Italian museum. Perugia may have also been motivated by a friend whose copies of the original would significantly rise in value after the painting's theft. A later account suggested Eduardo da Valfierno had been the mastermind of the theft and had commissioned forger Yves Chaudron to create 6 copies of the painting to sell in the US, while the location of the original was unclear. However, the original painting remained in Europe. After having kept the Monna Lisa in his apartment for 2 years, Perugia grew impatient and was caught when he attempted to sell it to directors of the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. It was exhibited in the Uffizi Gallery for over 2 weeks and returned to the Louvre on 4 January 1914. Perugia served 6 months in prison for the crime and was hailed for his patriotism in Italy. Before its theft, the Monna Lisa was not widely known outside the art world. It was not until the 1860s that some critics, a thin slice of the French intelligentsia, began to hail it as a masterwork of Renaissance painting. In 1956, part of the painting was damaged when a vandal threw acid at it. On the 30th of December of that year, a speck of pigment near the left elbow was damaged when a rock was thrown at the painting, which was later restored. The use of bulletproof glass has shielded the Mona Lisa from subsequent attacks. In April 1974, a woman, upset by the museum's policy for disabled people, sprayed red paint at it while it was being displayed at the Tokyo National Museum. On the 2nd of August 2009, a Russian woman, distraught over being denied French citizenship, threw her ceramic teacup purchased at the Louvre. The vessel shattered against the glass enclosure. In both cases, the painting was undamaged. Aesthetics. The Mona Lisa bears a strong resemblance to many Renaissance depictions of the Virgin Mary, who was at that time seen as an ideal for womanhood. The technique of turning the figure two-thirds towards the viewer is similar to late 15th century works by Lorenzo di Creda and Agnolo di Domenico del Maziere. Zollner notes that the sitter's general position can be traced back to Flemish models and that, in particular, the vertical slices of columns at both sides of the panel had precedence in Flemish portraiture. Woods Marsden cites Hans Memling's portrait of Benedetta Portinari or Italian imitations such as Sebastiano Mainardi's pendant portraits for the use of a loggia, which has the effect of mediating between the sitter and the distant landscape, a feature missing from Leonardo's earlier portrait of Ginevra da Vinci. The woman sits markedly upright with her arms folded, a sign of her reserved posture. Only her gaze is fixed on the observer and seems to welcome them to this silent look of communication, since the brightly lit face is practically framed by much darker elements. The observer's attraction to her is brought out to an even greater extent. The woman appears alive to an unusual extent which Leonardo achieved by his new method of not drawing outlines. The soft blending creates an ambiguous mood, mainly in two features: the corners of the mouth and the corners of the eyes. The painting was one of the first portraits to depict the sitter in front of an imaginary landscape, and Leonardo was one of the first painters to use aerial perspective. The enigmatic woman is portrayed seated in what appears to be an open loggia with dark pillar bases on either side. Behind her, a vast landscape recedes to icy mountains. Winding paths and a distant bridge give only the slightest indications of human presence. Leonardo has chosen to place the horizon line not at the neck, as he did with Ginevra da Vinci, but on a level with the eyes, thus linking the figure with the landscape and emphasizing the mysterious nature of the painting. Mona Lisa has no clearly visible eyebrows or eyelashes. Some researchers claim that it was common at this time for genteel women to pluck these hairs, as they were considered unsightly. In 2007, French engineer Pascal Cotte announced that his ultra-high-resolution scans of the painting provide evidence that Mona Lisa was originally painted with eyelashes and with visible eyebrows, but that these had gradually disappeared over time, perhaps as a result of overcleaning. Cotte discovered the painting had been reworked several times, with changes made to the size of the Mona Lisa's face and the direction of her gaze. He also found that in one layer the subject was depicted wearing numerous hairpins and a headdress adorned with pearls, which was later scrubbed out and overpainted. There has been much speculation regarding the painting's model and landscape. For example, Leonardo probably painted his model faithfully, since her beauty is not seen as being among the best, even when measured by late Quattrocento or even 21st century standards. Some art historians in Eastern art, such as Yukio Yashiro, also argue that the landscape in the background of the picture was influenced by Chinese paintings. However, this thesis has been contested for lack of clear evidence. Research in 2008 by a geomorphology professor at Urbino University and an artist-photographer revealed likenesses of Mona Lisa's landscapes to some views in the Montefeltro region in the Italian provinces of Pesaro, Urbino and Rimini. Conservation. The Mona Lisa has survived for more than 500 years. and an international commission convened in 1952 noted that the picture is in a remarkable state of preservation. This is partly due to the result of a variety of conservation treatments the painting has undergone. A detailed analysis in 1933 by Madame de Gioconda revealed that earlier restorers had acted with a great deal of restraint. Nevertheless, applications of varnish made to the painting had darkened even by the end of the 16th century, and an aggressive 1809 cleaning and revarnishing removed some of the uppermost portion of the paint layer, resulting in a washed-out appearance to the face of the figure. Despite the treatments, the Mona Lisa has been well cared for throughout its history, and although the panel's warping caused the curators some worry, the 2004-5 conservation team was optimistic about the future of the work. Poplar panel. At some point, the Mona Lisa was removed from its original frame. The unconstrained poplar panel warped freely with changes in humidity, and as a result, a crack developed near the top of the panel, extending down to the hairline of the figure. In the mid-18th century to early 19th century, two butterfly-shaped walnut braces were inserted into the back of the panel to a depth of about 1/3 the thickness of the panel. This intervention was skillfully executed, and successfully stabilized the crack. Sometime between 1888 and 1905, or perhaps during the picture's theft, the upper brace fell out. A later restorer glued and lined the resulting socket and crack with cloth. The flexible oak frame and cross braces helped to keep the panel from warping further. The picture is kept under strict, climate-controlled conditions in its bulletproof glass case. The humidity is maintained at 50% plus or minus 10%, and the temperature is maintained between 18 and 21 degrees Celsius. To compensate for fluctuations in relative humidity, the case is supplemented with a bed of silica gel treated to provide 55% relative humidity. Frame. Because the Mona Lisa's poplar support expands and contracts with changes in humidity, the picture has experienced some warping. In response to warping and swelling experienced during its storage during World War II, and to prepare the picture for an exhibit to honor the anniversary of Leonardo's 500th birthday, the Mona Lisa was fitted in 1951 with a flexible oak frame with beech crosspieces. In 1970, the beech crosspieces were switched to maple after it was found that the beechwood had been infested with insects. In 2004-5, a conservation and study team replaced the maple crosspieces with sycamore ones, and an additional metal crosspiece was added for scientific measurement of the panel's warp. The Mona Lisa has had many different decorative frames in its history, owing to changes in taste over the centuries. In 1909, the Comtesse de Behaye gave the portrait its current frame, a Renaissance-era work consistent with the historical period of the Mona Lisa. The edges of the painting have been trimmed at least once in its history to fit the picture into various frames, but no part of the original paint layer has been trimmed. Cleaning and touch-up. The first and most extensive recorded cleaning, revarnishing, and touch-up of the Mona Lisa was an 1809 wash and revarnishing undertaken by Jean-Marie Hoogstol, who was responsible for restoration of paintings for the galleries of the Musée Napoléon. The work involved cleaning with spirits, touch-up of color, and revarnishing the painting. In 1906, Louvre restorer Eugene Denizard performed watercolor retouches on areas of the paint layer disturbed by the crack in the panel. Denizard also retouched the edges of the picture with varnish, to mask areas that had been covered initially by an older frame. In 1913, when the painting was recovered after its theft, Denizard was again called upon to work on the Mona Lisa. Denizard was directed to clean the picture without solvent, and to lightly touch up several scratches to the painting with watercolor. In 1952, the varnish layer over the background in the painting was evened out. After the second 1956 attack, restorer Jean-Gabriel Goulonnet was directed to touch up the damage to Monna Lisa's left elbow with watercolor. In 1977, a new insect infestation was discovered in the back of the panel as a result of crosspieces installed to keep the painting from warping. This was treated on the spot with carbon tetrachloride, and later with an ethylene oxide treatment. In 1985, the spot was again treated with carbon tetrachloride as a preventive measure. Display on 6 April 2005, following a period of curatorial maintenance, recording, and analysis, the painting was moved to a new location within the museum's Salle des États. It is displayed in a purpose-built, climate-controlled enclosure behind bulletproof glass. Since 2005, the painting has been illuminated by an LED lamp, and in 2013 a new 20-watt LED lamp was installed, specially designed for this painting. The lamp has a color rendering index up to 98, and minimizes infrared and ultraviolet radiation which could otherwise degrade the painting. The renovation of the gallery where the painting now resides was financed by the Japanese broadcaster Nippon Television. About 6 million people view the painting at the Louvre each year.